Greetings, class. Welcome to our AMA Level 1 certification. We are about to go through all of the things that will allow for you to gather the information from the class and complete your homework for today. Some things that you will need to be familiar with is that this is a self-paced course. We will be here for the next 5 to 6 weeks before exams at 11 a.m. on Sundays. If there is a change to the time, you'll be notified in advance, and that class will take place on whatever day we reschedule it to, and the class will be recorded. I do specifically for this offering of the classes recommend that you don't go beyond the homework that you have for the week. And that is because we are updating the prior homeworks. So the homework that you have for today is set specifically for this class. And by next week, the homework that is on aboriginaluniversity.com will be changed slightly to fit the data that we need for this class. This is my last time doing this particular level of live classes. And the reason being is I'm needed in more managerial positions and for the continuation of think tanks on a monthly basis. And so we do have people who have done dissertations in the level 3 aspect of the curriculum, and they are able to teach classes. We need more people to complete levels 2, which is the diagnostic sciences, and level 3 dissertations, so we can get more professors who can teach these types of classes. These types of classes need to be everywhere, and they will be included in the new online curriculums as we develop the curriculums for the online schools for the children. And so take your time. After you see this class, only complete homework number 1. Do not try to go faster, because you could do that and you won't be penalized, but you're going to miss some things that only this particular set of classes provides as far as information. There are things that I have never talked about that I'm going to talk about today. Familiarity. The links take you to Aboriginal University, aboriginaluniversity.com. The password is 216 carbon, all lowercase letters. And I'll take you there so you can be familiar if this is your first time being in the class. This is the website. All of your homeworks are under these links. The homeworks are linked in your syllabus, so you can just click those links in your syllabus. They will also be linked in the emails that go out prior to the classes. For instance, if we click this one, it takes us to our level 1 homework, class 1. The homework is not graded, even though you will get a score out of it. The score is coming from the calculation of correct answers for true, false, and multiple choice. The short answers are not graded. So don't think that you failed homework or anything like that, okay? The homework is submitted electronically, so as soon as you complete it and you click down here, submit, it will come to us. You will see your results as well in your email. All right. And we will do this on a weekly basis until we are done. As the class goes on and you complete your exam successfully, you will be required to sign a contract. That contract is for you to perform as a certified dietitian and certified indigenous naturopath doctor of Aboriginal University and the Aboriginal Medical Association. You will have to honor that contract and follow the guidelines and stipulations. They require you to understand waiver of liability contracts, interacting with clients. They will require you to keep a client file book. Your client file book will be kept electronically, and you can keep physical copies of that. You will be required to report the interaction between you and clients to the main registrar, which is on the Aboriginal Medical Association website. I'll show you that. So you would go here. This is the Aboriginal Medical Association website, all right? And when you go under here, you have what's called client contract, and you will be filling out this form to produce information because it's our job to back you up. You will also be creating this using whatever system you like. We recommend Google Forms, and you can capture the data, all right? It can be stored in CSV files and other mediums to keep record, okay? All right, and so the idea behind the entire system of this class is to understand health in a different way. And I don't know what types of study you have had in the human body prior to this, but this will be unique in the way that we deliver the information. The information is delivered to get to the point where you can interact with the client, take diagnostics they've already taken in medical institutions inside of the United States of America, or from another CIND who has done a bioscan, or from headquarters because of a DNA methylation test or something of that nature, whatever type of diagnostic, and then bring the person back to health, homeostasis. The problem is removed. And in order to do that, we have to stay focused on the system and follow the system. Understand the system, understand it in context to other things that people may bring to you as information. And so the information we're going to share today is information directly from your textbooks. Let's go over that real briefly. You got a reduced rate for the class. It's only $300. This class is normally $1,200 or sometimes $1,000. Because of that, your textbooks are automatic downloads. They are ebooks. If you want to order hard copies of the books, you will need to go to the Aboriginal University store. We can mail them out. They get there in 2 to 3 days, regardless of where you are in the United States of America. If you're in the Southeast, they get there in 1 day. And let me share that with you. You can go right to the AU store and you'll see all these books here. All right. The 2 books that are textbooks for the course are the AMA textbook here and the Advanced Guide to Healing Thyself. We do give you this book as an ebook, and we also give you this book, but I don't recommend that you order hard copies of those books because you won't need them extensively for the course, okay? They will play a greater part in level 4, or if you're taking the midwifery training, all right? Specifically, this book, which we've done an edit to, will be a part of level 4 course registrations. After we've done this in the future, we will not be doing the health certification in separate levels because you are taking level 1. Of course, you'll be able to sign up for level 2, do level 3, level 4. But after this, if a person signs up, they have to sign up for all 4 levels and take those 4 levels. We will have some scholarships and other things to offer in the future. All right. Now, let's go into our information. If there's ever any issue that you have, the fastest way to contact us is the 24-hour text line. The number is 267-257-5403. I'm putting it in the chat so that people can have that information. If you try to email and use other means, try to inbox me on social media, you're not going to get a fast response. Literally hundreds of people inbox me on social media every day, and I can't check all of those messages, but we have multiple people checking the text line. You will get a faster response. Okay. All right. So let's start from the material that we have for class. I'm going to go straight to your AMA Health book, textbook, and your Advanced Guide to Healing Thyself. And we're going to get our first basic concept in. And this concept deals with something we call real bodybuilding. All right, let's go. And I'm going to share this directly from the Advanced Guide to Healing. Again, I'm on page 2 at the beginning of the Advanced Guide to Healing Thyself, but this information is also in your textbook. I'll go back and forth between both of them so that you can be familiar. So if I share this, you'll see the information is here on the opening page 2 that deals with real bodybuilding. All right. And if I go to the actual AMA textbook, this information is on page, get it right, 55. All right, let me open that back up. Sometimes these books just start doing their own thing. All right, so yeah, if you scroll down to page 55 in your textbook, you will see this same information. I just want you to get the locations down. All right, so let's go down to page 55 and you will see it. All right. All right, so what does real bodybuilding tell us? It gives us this circle right here. You have consciousness, you have the subatomic, you have the atomic and the molecular in the human body and organisms, animals, and plants. You have nucleotides, genes, amino acids, and proteins, and these make up larger things like cells, tissues, organs, and systems. That's the human body. And so let me come off of this and go back to the Advanced Guide to Healing, because the Advanced Guide to Healing asks one simple question, and it's a beautiful question. If we were to ask the top medical professionals on earth the primary cause of disease, surely they would have a vast array of answers. Toxins in the body, lack of nutrients, pathogens of all types, viruses, bacteria, fungi, yeast, parasites, prions, mutations, transcription factors, etc. In our indigenous health paradigm, these are all things that are not the main cause of disease. Our real bodybuilding concept goes to the root. So let's look at this. Let's say I had diabetes. The standard given is by the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive Kidney Disease as type 1 diabetes occurs when your immune system, the body's system for fighting infection, attacks and destroys the insulin-producing beta cells of the pancreas. Scientists think type 1 diabetes is caused by genes and environmental factors, such as viruses that might trigger the disease. Studies such as TrialNet, External Link, are working to pinpoint causes of type 1 diabetes and possible ways to prevent or slow disease. Type 2 diabetes, the most common form of diabetes, is caused by several factors, including lifestyle factors and genes. Overweight, obesity, and physical inactivity. You're more likely to develop type 2 diabetes if you are not physically active and are overweight or have obesity. Extra weight sometimes causes insulin resistance and is common in people with type 2 diabetes. The location of body fat also makes a difference. Extra belly fat is linked to insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and heart and blood vessel disease. To see if your weight puts you at risk for type 2 diabetes, check out these body mass index charts. Insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes usually begins with insulin resistance, a condition in which muscle, liver, and fat cells do not use insulin well. As a result, your body needs more insulin to help glucose enter cells. At first, the pancreas makes more insulin to keep up with the added demand. Over time, the pancreas can't make enough insulin, and the blood glucose levels rise. So we take the following chart, and we go to the root. With diabetes, we have injury to anatomy, pancreas, and physiological processes, metabolism of glucose. We have issues with hormones, enzymes, circulation, etc. When we go further into the more micro world, this is what we find with all diseases. System failure and organ failure. The cells of the organ have poor autocrine, that's inside communication, and paracrine, communication between cells. Protein misfolding. All right, so proteins are developed and stimulated through transcription, all right, factors and genes. They make proteins. And if they're folded wrong, you have tissue malformation. The geometry is off. And disfigurement caused by issues with nucleotides. Nucleotide mutation, as in crossing between AT and CG. So AT and CG are supposed to go together. When I do a DNA methylation test, it'll show me these mutations. A and T always go together, and C and G always go together. Once they cross on a nucleotide level, we have a mutation. Now, what does it mean to mute something? To alter a sound. This mutation impacts how proteins are transcribed by RNA. Now, you didn't know that tissues were built based on sound. You're going to learn that. So this is why if you listen to certain music, you get in a bad mood. You listen to certain music, you get in a good mood. The good mood is biochemistry. The bad mood is biochemistry. It's sound. DNA mutation that leads to RNA transcription dysfunction. So DNA mutation is here. On the molecular level, the DNA and RNA issues cause specific issues with ionic bonding and covalent bonding. Covalent bonding is different from ionic bonding. Ionic bonding gives you transfer of electrons, or what we're calling electrons. Covalent bonding holds things together where the electron shells are closed now, and there's a unity between the nucleus of the things coming together, making the molecular trees unstable. All right, if there's an issue between these bonding, almost like building a faulty skyscraper that will collapse. But what causes this? Atom beta decay, where the nucleus of the atom is in disarray and deteriorating. And now we are here in the quantum world. We call the mind. We call it the mind. They don't call it the mind. We call it the mind. It is here where we propose the smallest particles of them all, God particles, etc., cannot be retained in structure and function, which causes entropy. This is what beta decay is: the inability of a physical system to be strong enough to contain a force or energy. Structurally, it can. We call these particles God particles because after what modern physicists are seeking after. These particles are 10 to the 78th power centimeters in size as modern physicists have only been able to find them at a certain range. We're telling you this for a reason, all right? But so what we got to is the cause of all disease is the mind. How is that? That's like subjective, right? The mind is subjective. Let's stop there, because this is the beginning of the confusion in health. In order for someone to heal, you need their permission. You need their permission. They're coming to you. They don't want to stay as they are. And your process from that moment of permission is the thing that catalyzes. Inside of them is a belief. It's a seed. Whatever happens from that point is the transition to failure or success. The person could be bringing all types of preconceived notions. One of the things that you're going to have to establish is that the person came to you because they wanted help. Because they might say, well, Dr. Sabi said, well, Yaki said, well, Dr. Bobby Price said. And my response is, you came to me. If you want help from Yaki or Dr. Bobby Price or Dr. Sabi or his son or whoever else, you're welcome to go to them. But if you come to me, I have the answer. We have the answer. And all we need you to do is have confidence in that answer and proceed. That conversation is very important because it doesn't shut down them questioning. But what it does establish is we have a protocol and we're going to be focused. And the word focused is important. You establish these things by the technical side, the contracts, the interactions, and you establish it verbally by politely saying, we have protocols. If you follow them, we will be able to help you. And that is going to take out non-coherent interactions. Non-coherent interactions are confused communications. They are people not agreeing, but saying they're agreeing. Somebody could be coming to you for all types of reasons other than what it appears to be. That's something that they're going to have to deal with. But you have to stay composed and focused as a healer. And you have to deliver a service based on a system of protocols. And so going back to the mind, you need their agreement. You also need, with their agreement and permission, you need the contract so that they can follow the protocols. And you have to know the protocols. So when we go back to disease, let us understand this. You're looking at me right now. I have the same two eyes, skull, hair, fingers, teeth, liver, heart, spine, nervous system as you. That's called design. Where did this design come from? Let's establish some rules. I am going to die. You are going to die. The plants around you, they're around here, they die. The largest trees die. The fish, the animals, the squirrel, they all live and die. They are not individually permanent. They are not species permanent. the earth, the sun, everything has a life cycle. So they are a design of something. And this is the important part that you're going to have to establish as a scientist, a student, a certified indigenous naturopath doctor, a dietitian in this system. You have to establish what is real and what is not real. And time means nothing because the earth might live a long time, but it will die. But I'm going to teach you a lesson about that as we move on into classes 4 and 5. Because the very earth that dies in the very space that we see it in will go back to wherever it came from, and it will come back in the same way that it died. It will come back. And we can prove this with the highest levels of science. The same way that Mercury will come into existence, it will go out of existence. The same way that the sun came into existence, it will go out of existence. Everything has a life and death cycle, except for one thing. There's only one thing that does not have a life and death cycle. And in our system, we call it light. In our system, light is not what you see from the sun. It's because you haven't been taught science. And this has everything to do with taking cholesterol in the skin and making a hormone that converts itself into something that's useful for your genes. You notice in the pathology, they kept mentioning diabetes is associated to genes and genes and genes and genes. What are genes? They're sections of deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. What is DNA? It is the memory from your mother and your father, and their mother and their father, and their mother and their father, their mother and their father. DNA is material memory for an organism in a lineage. So they're saying, oh, it's in the genes. So it's very important what you do as a parent because you pass memory on to your children in the form of genes. And you pass memory in the form not of just genetics, but epigenetics. And epigenetics are the things that influence the genes from the outside of the nucleus. It could be a vitamin. It could be a methyl. It could be a pollutant. It could be a pesticide. It could be any of these things. But epi, beyond the gene, but they influence the gene. Genes can be turned on and off. Where am I going with this? Back to the point. If genes are memory of an organism's lineage, and that lineage has to reproduce itself, the individuals die, at some point the lineage did not even exist. And it's possible for it to go out of existence. It's very possible. Here is the point. Light. You're looking at me right now, and the reason why you can see me is because of what? Why can you see me? The reason why you can see me is because I am reflecting and radiating. If it's dark, completely dark, you can't see anything. because nothing's radiating. This light I have in here has electricity and magnetism associated with conduction, and it goes to a bulb and it radiates out heat. You see me because of electricity. That's what I'm getting to, or what you call electrons. But in the world that we live in right now, they will tell you that there's a seen spectrum of light. Pay attention. Roy G. Biv, you learned this in school. Red, orange, yellow, blue. Excuse me. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. That's the seen spectrum. And then there's an unseen spectrum. So you can't detect it. What is the unseen spectrum? It's either moving too fast or too slow for you to perceive with your eyes. But you can perceive something with your eyes. You see all types of colors and things. And so in our system, light is a black, inert reality. Why is it black? Because all frequencies, when you look at the spectrum of the electromagnetic spectrum, so-called light spectrum, all frequencies go back to black on both ends of the spectrum. If you go from red to infrared, you go back into blackness. If you go from blue, indigo to violet, ultraviolet radiation, you go into blackness. And if you ask a scientist what that black stuff is up in, when we look up into space, why is the backdrop black? They're going to bring up all the theories. Dark energy, dark matter, they're going to run it. And they're going to say, oh, well, in physics, we're looking for the God particle. And the God particle is smaller than an atom, is subatomic, and it's the smallest constituent thing that makes everything else up. And so there's some principles that we need to understand when it comes to disease. If everything that we touch and see, all 12 systems in our body, everything that we touch and we see has electricity associated with it. We eat from the earth, we breathe, everything. We're animated beings. Our bones, our muscles. Then we need to ask one question. Where does this design come from? It doesn't come from nowhere. And this is what we're about to get into. Because once you understand where the design comes from, you know how to work with it. And once you learn how to work with it, you're not guessing. You have to give respect to the origin of something in order to work with it well. And this is what is not happening. We're looking outwardly, scientifically, objectively. That's what they call, oh, you can't be subjective in science. You have to be objective. Means you have to observe. And you set up rules in scientific method. Fine. But now we do have to use the subjective mind, because the subjective mind, which is you, the individual, using your what? Senses, sight, smell, taste, touch, ability to experiment. You're using those things to come to a conclusion about why somebody has diabetes. And if they have genes, memory in their past, that's contributing. If they have stress and they're not physically exercising, they don't understand the design. They don't understand that the body is designed to move. If they're taking on obesity, they don't understand the importance of the liver and how it works. You don't understand the design. And so a part of everything that we're dealing with is ignorance and a violation of natural law. The ignorance puts you in a position where you don't know what to do. And the violation comes by default because you're not respecting the design. If a stove is hot and you touch it and you learn that you can burn your hand, if you keep doing that, you're going to injure your hand over and over again. Your hand might become dysfunctional. You might not be able to use it. So if you know eating a lot will get you fat, if you're not exercising and you're eating foods that by objective reality, they're taking away your energy. Why would you keep doing it? It's because you don't respect natural law and you have fallen in love with ignorance. That's the mind. That's the decision. It starts subjectively. And so by the time you get to diabetes and all these other diseases, it is the ignorance and the violation of design or natural law that is leading people to these circumstances. And they have to know that. Because now they have to learn how to protect through the protocols that you're giving them. They have to get the information and then they get the result because they're respecting the design. The thing you have to know is how to get to that particular point. In walks nature. What is nature? Nature is the elements. You put up the periodic table, you go from hydrogen and you go all the way to 100 different mineral elements that make up everything that's here. Everything in here, these posters, the walls, me, are made of these elements. They're called atoms. So let's take a look at it. Because now I'm going to share a video with you and I need you to understand what an atom really is versus what you believe. But before I do that, I'm going to go back to your book because now we're going to build ourselves up to understanding how to heal people, but not through guesswork. We're going to do it through science. Excuse me. In 2012, I put this video up. This is the model that people are still learning about an atom. That you have a nucleus, which is a proton and neutron, and this thing that's circling around it. This is not how atoms operate at all. So I put this here, and people thought I was crazy when I was doing this. Like, what are you talking about? This is 2012. The atom was a polarized vortex that concentrates and curves the light field. And that curvature of light makes matter. So people thought I was crazy when I put this out. And you can read here. Atom, the basic and fundamental unit of Aboriginal physics, which is naturally composed of a polarized energy of positive and negative spin, which are called electrons and protons. Go back to our point. The only thing real is light. So what does light do? Light creates a dual nature, a dual fluctuation. It is called a perturbation. In life, we call it the masculine and the feminine. In the atomic world, we call it the proton, which is positive, and the neutron, which is negative. It's poles. Everything in nature has a pole. This is how we know the earth is not flat. Everything has a pole. I'm about to prove it. Atoms have a pole. Planets have a pole. You have a pole. North and South Pole. Everything has an equator. And this fluctuation is what you call a perturbation. So the light field perturbates. What does the light field perturbating mean? I swear to you, I'm not going to confuse you. It is the thinking of the creator. And this thinking is what leads to the production of what you're calling materials. And the first material that crystallizes from gases is carbon. This is why the carbon is the basis of chemistry and biochemistry. It is that first element that's going to take you into the ability to establish higher intelligences, and it is a direct communicator with this black light field. This is why carbon is black. It's a direct mirror of the thinking of the creator in order to bring things into existence, temporal things. Here's the secret, though. Human beings are the only organism who understands this consciously. No one else can reach, no other organism on this orb can reach that level to understand exactly where they come from or is interested in where they come from. Plants don't do it. Animals don't do it. Nothing does it but humans. This tells you who you are. This is why you have a high level of responsibility. Being the supreme being has nothing to do with your religion. It is a scientific responsibility based on observation of objective reality and subjective reality. You are now in a position to understand cause and effect and to deal with causes properly, maturely. And this is what healing is about. Healing is about not about projection. Oh, the atmosphere. Oh, the chemtrails. Oh, everything is against us. Oh, we're going to die. No. This is about understanding what makes you up, your design, and not disconnecting from it by thinking that it's not intelligent. Because everybody here is made of atoms. Everybody here is made of the law of polarity. Everybody here is made of electrons and protons. Everybody is here as a result of a man and a woman. Everybody is stuck in natural law, and when you start to violate it because you are ignorant and or rebellious, you must pay a price. And the price is you speed up what's going to come naturally anyway, death. And you have to deal with the repercussions of how you died, because now you can pass that information on, genes, to other people. So since we are the artists that are self-created beings through lineage, we have to respect the fact that light polarized in the beginning into a masculine and feminine entity, and light is directly related to that masculine and feminine proton, electron, poles, earth, man, woman. Light is the medium for creating polarity, which is sex. Just like you are born through sex, consciousness is born through sex. Consciousness is born through the masculine and the feminine. This is simple right now, but we're about to get somewhere. So follow me. So what happens when you violate sex between man and woman? You violate all of your atoms, all of your subatomic particles, and you show no respect for the artist and the creator, which is you. Your behavior as a human is a testament to how much you respect the creator. Your disease state is a reflection of your disassociation from your creator. Your carbon that you inherit is a sign, or not a sign, a communication of what your people have been doing. And so biodiversity in this course, which we are learning, this is still the introduction. Biodiversity is the evidence of who followed natural law and who didn't. So when you see pink, pale people, you know they have a history and gene memory of violating natural law and the creator and being irresponsible organisms. That's in their past. That's in your visible ability to see them. That communication made them pink with fur for you to be aware of what they have been doing and what their proclivity is now. And here you are with leftover carbon that's in a weaker state than it used to be, but still you have it. You inherited it. And so now we have to talk about that, because if it's the basis of biochemistry and organic chemistry and everything in the universe with covalent bonding, carbon is here as a result of God deciding, the creator deciding, the intelligent design deciding that it wants to make something artful. And it needs a communication network to do so, to engineer it. That's why carbon is in everything that's living. And everything is living, including the rocks. That's how you got bones, by the way. It doesn't mean you can't dig in the earth. It just means you have to understand everything has a purpose and a design. Respect it. The stones are there for you to build. You just have to respect it. Why do you have to respect it? You respect it because it's all a part of the design. To disrespect the design is to begin to have a diseased mind, and therefore it follows itself through matter. So science disconnects you from God and makes it secular. It disconnects you from a creator and a designer. It can only harm you if it continues down that path. We don't need Wi-Fi, but we do need communication networks. And there are better ones that can be built. And so where are we going with this conversation in the introduction? We're going to the point that you have to study creation, because a false memory is a defect in the ability to interpret the light field in creation. So if you believe that atoms look like this, just by downloading that information, you are now disrespecting every atom in creation. That's like me saying my name is Ali and you keep calling me another name. That's like I say I identify as indigenous, a man or woman of the earth, me and my family, and you keep calling me a foreigner. It's disrespect. How am I going to respond to disrespect? How do atoms respond to disrespect? Since you can have you can respond to disrespect, and you're made of atoms, but atoms can't respond to disrespect in your mind. Disrespect in atoms is non-coherent exchange of communication. Non-coherent exchange of communication is confusion. It's guesswork. It's tactical manipulation that has no functional purpose to it. And so let's jump into this homework science so we can get it. But in order to do that, I'm going to have to show you a video. All right, so let me find this video real quick. All right, let me find this video. Oh man, I should have pulled this up earlier because I had it tagged in one of my videos. Let me find it on my phone. I meant to tag it. 1 second. One second. Here we go. All right. I thought that would bring it up. Oh man, if I have to skip this video, then that's fine. I might have took this down. Ah, here it is. I think it is this right here. All right. All right, so yeah, this is the video. All right, so this video, it's 14 minutes, but we have to watch this, and these classes are going to be a little bit longer, and that's okay. I just want you to get this thesis down, and the reason why you want to get this thesis down is because you're going to understand what stress is at another level. You're going to understand how people get defeated by their own thoughts as we explain this. And you're going to understand why people heal and why they don't heal based on the concepts that are gathered from this this discussion. Because go back to our point, light is the only thing that's permanent. Everything else is real, but it's created. It has a life and a death cycle, just like you and me. Going to be here and we live. If we want to improve the quality of our life, we have to follow these laws. And this goes all the way down to if you're going to help with a liver problem, why a liver flush doesn't work. There's no such thing as a liver flush. How do you flush a liver? You know how many packages are online right now with liver flushes? How many things you can buy with liver flushes? We have a product, Liver Max. It's not a liver flush. It is studying design to help design get back to doing what it's supposed to be doing. You can injure the body with a liver flush. People trying to tell you to take all kinds of other things. But if you know how the liver is designed, how it functions, then you say, well, what is it missing? If it's missing a substance, N-acetylcysteine, glutathione, whatever else is missing, we give the body the substance, one. We figure out if the body makes the substance on its own, two. And if it makes it on its own, what is blocking it from making it on its own? We implement the behavior, we implement the substance, we get the result. Natural law, no ignorance. Ignorance makes you buy a liver flush. Ignorance will make you think sea moss has 92 minerals and you're taking them to get your minerals. Ignorance. So many people said it. It's the mind. The mind is the quantum world. Let's watch this video. And it's technical points, but the points that I want to make are the ones that you're going to get.
Or a seeming miracle, sometimes attributed to the unseen hand of a divine being. Then Greek and other ancient civilizations began to explore rationality and logic to explain how the universe works. A paradigm shift came through the likes of Galileo and Newton and the introduction of classical mechanics. The universe was then viewed as a kind of cosmic clock ticking with mathematical precision, where almost every movement and phenomenon could be explained and predicted through observations and equations. In the early 20th century, this view of a mechanical, deterministic, and predictable universe was shattered with the advent of relativity and quantum mechanics. Time was no longer set in stone, and the precise location of particles was no longer measurable. Einstein, Planck, Bohr, and Schrödinger led this new paradigm shift. This might seem like the end of the story, but there has been one additional, more recent paradigm-shifting development in physics that perhaps did not receive as much fanfare, but it is undoubtedly equally profound. And that is how quantum mechanics was supplemented and made more complete by quantum field theory, or QFT. It is the basis of the best theory we have in physics today to explain nearly everything, called the Standard Model of Particle Physics. What is quantum field theory? Why is it necessary? How is it different than quantum mechanics? That's coming up right now. Classical mechanics has been and continues to be used to explain many phenomena that we can observe. Consider a planet orbiting a star. We can use Newton's laws to model it fairly accurately. If the planet were to somehow lose its kinetic energy or slow down, it would spiral into the star and collide. Now consider something conceptually similar, an electron orbiting the proton of a hydrogen atom. In this case, we could again try to use Newton's laws to model it. Instead of the attractive force of gravity for the star and planet, the two objects' electrical charges keep it bound together. This is where classical mechanics fails because, as we know from Maxwell's laws, an accelerating charge creates electromagnetic radiation, and the constantly changing direction of the electron creates an acceleration. This means the electron would constantly give up photons, losing energy in the process. It would thus spiral towards the nucleus and collide. But we know that no such thing actually happens in reality. Atoms are stable. An electron does not crash into the nucleus. Why? Because we were using the wrong tool to describe the model of an atom, classical mechanics. We have to use a new tool, quantum mechanics. Niels Bohr proposed that the electron maintains a stable orbit because its energy is quantized. It can only be in an orbit that is an integer multiple of a minimal quanta. And its lowest energy state is the lowest orbit that the electron can have. It cannot be lower. This minimal quanta, by the way, is proportional to the Planck's constant. In Newtonian physics, we think of objects as discrete particles having very specific and measurable properties, such as a mass x, momentum y, and position z. In quantum mechanics, our objects are wave functions described by some completely different mathematics. This is shown by the Schrödinger equation, which is perhaps the most important equation in quantum mechanics. Here, the location of a particle is unknown until the moment of measurement.
All right, so the location is unknown until it's measured. Keep that in mind.
We cannot know where it is beforehand. We can only know the probability of finding it at any specific location. Prior to measurement, the wave function depicts a kind of smearing out of its location. Thus, in the quantum mechanical model of the hydrogen atom, the electron is not spinning around the nucleus like a planet around a star. It's in some unknown location at some unknown distance from the nucleus. All we know is that the chance of finding the electron at any specific location or distance from the nucleus has a probability associated with it. And we can't determine the location in advance of measuring it. So the better model of the atom is like a cloud around a fuzzy nucleus. The white cloud represents the probability cloud of the location of the electron. Note that the nucleus too would be fuzzy as well, since it is also a quantum object, but its cloud would be more localized than the electrons. Now you might think this is a great model. We know everything now. We can stop here. But we can't, because quantum mechanics has some problems too. There are some things it cannot explain, and we get the wrong results, just like when we tried to explain the electron's orbit with the classical formulation. First of all, quantum mechanics is not relativistic. That is, it will give you wrong results if the quantum object is moving close to the speed of light. Schrödinger's equation simply doesn't obey Einstein's theory of special relativity. The practical result of this is that it doesn't incorporate a speed limit, the speed of light.
Pay attention to this. There are people right now online that will quote Einstein, and Einstein was absolutely wrong. He was corrected 100 years ago. Schrödinger took out the speed of light and dealt with a higher mathematics. And the world is still stuck on Einstein winning the Nobel Peace Prize for special relativity and all this other. You see how ignorance can be handed down through mass mob psychology? I'm going to let this keep going because it's going to get deeper.
To make causality work. For example, it allows for two measurements to influence each other faster than light.
Say it again. It took out the speed of light, and things now can affect one another, and now we call it quantum entanglement. You see, the curriculums are controlled. I am speaking to you right now. If you were upstairs on a computer versus being in Africa, how is this information getting to you? Here's the truth. The information is everywhere. And when we bring this back to the human body, we start to understand healing at another level. The healing begins through the confidence and belief that you can heal. And it affects the biology. It is the trigger. And this is the most important part. By the time you get to adding things to your body is already receptive, and it knows you're putting the thing in your body to carry out a mechanical function that has already been decided in the light field. I'm going to say that one more time. By the time you put a mechanistic thing in your body, the light field has already have to make the decision that that is being used, guided, and directed to solve a problem. I'm going to let it keep going.
This would mean that there would be some reference frame in which the future could influence the past, breaking.
Say it again. There's a reference frame where the future could influence the past. Let me explain what that means in terms of healing. You could have a body with diabetes now. You're already in the future decided that you are healed. You made the right decision. That's the future you talking to the you now that's in the present. This is the key to healing. The key to healing is recognizing that I'm taking accountability for not accepting the fact that I was ignorant and that I violated natural law. I am restoring natural law and removing ignorance. I am healed. You're talking through an entity that is not subject to time or space. In the cosmology class we're about to go through, y'all are going to learn the same thing. Let's keep going.
Causality. A second problem with quantum mechanics is that it only tells you how a particle evolves over time. That is, how it goes about its business. It does not tell you how it is created or annihilated. So it can't account for things like beta decay due to the weak nuclear force, where a neutron transforms into a proton, an electron, and an antineutrino. In this case, quantum mechanics breaks down because it doesn't work if we change the number of particles. In the case of the beta decay I just described, the down quark of a neutron decays into an up quark, changing the neutron to a proton, and at the same time emits an electron and an antineutrino with a mediating W boson. This change to other particles can't be described by quantum mechanics. This is where quantum field theory explains things that quantum mechanics cannot explain on its own. So, what is quantum field theory? Well, it's a mathematical framework that combines classical field theory. A classical field would be like a magnetic field as described by James Clerk Maxwell, special relativity, and quantum mechanics. There is a field for every particle of the standard model. So in our beta decay example, there would be a field for the down quark, the W boson, the up quark, the electron, and the antineutrino. All these fields extend out in all of space-time. In other words, the fields are always there and exist everywhere, including inside your body. Now, although they exist everywhere and you can't see them, they are not nothing. They are teeming with virtual particles. These are particle-antiparticle pairs that get created and destroyed. So for example, the down quark field will always have some spontaneous creation of down quarks and anti-down quarks, which get created, annihilated almost instantly. They come in and out of existence constantly. These virtual particles can't be measured, but nature allows the creation of these virtual particles by letting them borrow energy from the vacuum, as long as that energy is put right back into the vacuum. This happens so quickly that it's as if nature doesn't register them.
This is what you call a perturbation. This is the thinking of the creator that they're having right here. This is happening to you all the time. Let's keep going.
As real measurable particles. We can visualize these fields as a kind of ocean. Just like the ocean wave has some turbulence, the fields always have a kind of turbulence, even in their ground state of minimal energy. This turbulence is due to the virtual particle creation and annihilation I just described. In these turbulent seas, if there's enough energy, a large wave can be created, which can be measured. These are the real particles. So in the up quark field, for example, An up quark will be created if there's energy of 2.3 mega electron volts, or MeV, which is the mass of one up quark. Two quarks will be created if there's energy of 4.6 MeV. So a particle is nothing more than an excitation in this field. These excitations are quantized, not continuous. So the fields can only create particles in integer increments. They cannot, for example, have 1.5 up quarks, only 2 quarks or 3 quarks, etc. Now, energy can be transferred between two fields via a mediating boson field. This is considered an interaction, or a force. Matter particles can't interact on their own without a mediating boson. So while in quantum mechanics there's no way for the neutron to split its energy into 3 different particles, a proton, electron, and an antineutrino, in quantum field theory, this can be done via energy exchange between the fields. You start with the fields of all the different particles, which are always there, and you finish with the fields of the same particles. Some of them just have more or less energy after the exchanges of energies, depending on the interaction. So in our beta decay, for example, you start with the down quark field. This field transfers its energy to the up quark field and the W boson field. The W boson field then transfers its energy almost immediately to the electron field and the antineutrino field. So we started with 1 particle in the down quark field, and we ended up with 3 particles simply by the fields exchanging energy. Note that although the number of particles changed, the total energy is always conserved. If you add up all the masses and kinetic energy at the beginning, they will add up to all the masses and kinetic energy at the end. In other words, the energy of the fields is the same before and after the energy exchange. So by having quantum fields, we can mathematically account for and model creation and annihilation of particles, as well as the mechanism of force exchange. The icing on the cake is that the theory is fully relativistic, meaning it's free of causality violations. But even this modification of quantum mechanics is not perfect. For example, it's still missing gravity. We do not have a quantum field theory for gravity. If we did, it would mean that we could model a field for the theoretical graviton particles, and gravity would be mediated between matter particles by the exchange of this graviton boson. So even QFT, which is extremely accurate for the forces and particles we do know about in the standard model, remains as yet incomplete. The fact that we don't have this tells us something. It reminds me of the saying that when you have a hammer as your tool, everything looks like a nail. Our tool is QFT. So far, everything we know has been a nail. So either gravity is not a nail, or maybe we just don't really know how to use the hammer. But still, in my view, QFT is probably the most beautiful theory in science. And here's why. Because it tells us that the universe and everything in it, including us and all living things, the whole planet, every star, every galaxy, and even things outside the visible universe are all connected. Everything, even our thoughts, dreams, and ideas are composed of...
All right, so let me stop this sharing. He's done enough. He's done enough. Basically, what he said is you're creating everything with your mind, your problems, your solutions, everything. And so now let us continue, because we solved the problem of gravity. The problem of gravity is solved where? Carbon. So now we know that light is an inert black force field that perturbates into electricity. We know that matter is light after it polarized into motion as electricity and magnetism. The periodic table is all a representation of different forms of what? Light. Not hydrogen, like Dr. Gabriel Oyibo said, of light. And what is matter then? Matter is light in motion. This is why we can see it. It has to move. So when we go through the elements, we're looking at different stages of motion, registered motion. I played that video for a reason. because the motion is a dance of particles. This is how your body works. This is why we know it's 12 systems and they all work together. And if we start violating the dance and get off beat, we get mutations. So we need to put this in a language. Our ancestors put these things in languages so that we could understand the patterns. Protons are masculine and they contract. That's why men love to be isolated and focused on plans. Electrons are feminine and they radiate. This is why women love attention. All life is polar. This is why we have a man and a woman. Why do you want to be trans? You want to be trans because you're ignorant and you're violating natural law. And you have memory that's being handed down from you who people who violated natural law. This is why we can go to the pale races and find them practicing homosexuality in their cultural dynamic. And then we have in ours that we have laws against that stuff. Our carbon was speaking to us and saying, you're violating the artistry of your design. That carbon is also building up molecules. This is why it's the basis of organic chemistry and biochemistry. Molecules are units composed of multiple atoms. If you want to do that, you have to have covalent bonding. What is the most potent covalent bonding mineral element in creation? Carbon. This is why it's black. It attenuates and radiates in perfect balance. Attenuates is masculine. Radiate is feminine. It's a perfect mirror of light. Its radiating electron field is neutral. This is why you have a shell, right? The electron shell has 8. The first shell is 2. All the other shells after the first shell are 8. This is how you get the mineral elements. So let's show you a picture of that real quick, so you don't forget. Oh, we're gonna get to some real good stuff here, but we got to get through these basic things. Look at this. Here you go. 6. 6 means what? 6 protons, 6 electrons. Two electrons on the first electron orbit, 4 in the second one. Now, they just told you that there's not electrons circling the field. So what does this actually represent? It represents contraction and radiation being in perfect balance. Carbon 12. The second shell is at 4. 4 is the midline. It's stability. This is why it's radiating blackness. Anything that is on the equator or the midline is radiating blackness. This is why silicon is used in what? Artificial intelligence. It has the same state that carbon has, but we're focusing here on carbon as the most potent mineral. So you're going to learn this whole table a different way. You're going to learn how this is synced to sound. You're going to learn how this is synced to building molecules up, carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, DNA, and what causes mutations. We already know that carbon-14 beta decays into nitrogen. Nitrogen is not stable. This is why it causes so many problems in biology. This is why the people who are pale have more nitrogen and we have more carbon. Our original bodies had 0 nitrogen, which would equal 0 mutation functionalities. That is a state of mind and matter. All right. And so we build ourselves up from this design into all these complex things, but we have divorced ourselves from the responsibility of knowing we are creators. And so we have trillions of cells, which are the fundamental units of biology, but we are misusing them. We're allowing things into our sphere epigenetically, people, circumstances, and things that would violate this law of balance. Why would you, in your relationship, which is masculine and feminine, closed off life form, invite a third party in who's unmarried to give you advice about a unit that's polarized? They're not even in a polarized unit or state. Why? How could they give you any advice? Think about how simple these things are. And so what happens is we start to decay. Yeah, we start to decay. We're decaying because excessively because we're stressed. And when we're stressed, we're not in rhythm, we're not breathing right, we're not doing these things that we know we're supposed to do. We have a whole thing inside of your profile when you start to deal with clients where 3 times a day they're supposed to do relaxed breathing. Why are they doing that at sunrise, noon, and sunset? Why are they syncing it with the sun? What's the purpose of the relaxation? It's to give you oxygen. Oxygen is driving your ATP process, how you use energy. It's driving your GTP process, guanosine triphosphate. One deals with glucose and the use of energy. The other deals with protein synthesis, GTP. You getting that oxygen in your body so your body don't ferment down. This is what happens in foods when they break down. Homolactic fermentation takes place as a result of missing oxygen. And so, what is the point? The point is very simple. The point is we have to learn natural law before we start talking about the liver, the stomach, the heart, the brain, the spinal cord, the nervous system, the muscles, all of these things. Without understanding natural law and how to vet information, we are going to be stuck at effects, and not causation. How are you taking information from people who are not addressing the fact that you have a substance in you that is photosynthetic? Melanin. It's in your brain. It's in your skin. It's in your nutrition, if you're eating right, food pigments, blueberries, carotenoid pigments, dulse. If we're not addressing the photosynthetic nature of this, we're not showing that the sun is nutrition. So why aren't you outside in the sun? Because you have to put on sunscreen. Consciously, you just disconnected yourself from natural law. You have to pay a price for that. The ignorance is, what's in the sunscreen? How is it going to affect my skin? Which is the way into my body. It's the first layer of protection. And I'm putting toxic substances on my skin. I don't see the sun as nutrition, which is why I don't go outside and lay in it for at least 30 minutes. Meanwhile, it makes a hormone that's misnamed as a vitamin, vitamin D3, that controls 10% of your genome. By developing vitamin D response element interactions, where it can go through the genome and say, here's a mutation, let me fix that. The sun, by you laying out in the sun starts a catalyst of activity in order to vet the memory in your body. The sun has that ability. And what are those 2,000 genes controlling in your body? There's no way you're going to memorize a quadrillion functions. You have over 30 trillion cells, each doing thousands and thousands and thousands of things. That's in the quadrillions in functions. Each one of your atoms, you have quadrillions of atoms. Each one of them are doing functions. You telling me you're going to memorize all of that? That stresses you out. This world makes you memorize things without understanding the laws. This is about understanding the laws. This is about you commanding your body to do something based on natural law. Go lay out in that sun, and if you have a problem, psychological, mental, physical, disease state, go tell your body from the you that is timeless, you are now healed. I am sitting and basking in the environment that made me, that designed me. Didn't the guy just said, oh, quantum mechanics, which is dealing with the material world, does not tell you how the particles are created. Then he showed you the light field, an intermediate boson, a proton, interacting with things in order to produce electrons and other particles. This is why your liver can make almost everything in your body, and it's the only organ that if you slice a piece of it off, it will grow back damn near instantly in a very short time. It's the same organ when you're fat that says, hey, look, I can't work when you're fat. But what is fat? Fat is being out of your nature. You're eating too much. You're depressed and you're stressed. You're violating natural law. Not because you're stressed, because of your response to it. Your response is you're going to sulk in it and make excuses for yourself. Meanwhile, the liver is there saying, look, I can help you out. Help me out. And so as we move through this course, the first law is you are the creator. That's the subjective stuff that science does not want you to take on, but you just had a scientist just tell you that there are quantum fields, they permeate throughout your whole body, and they determine on the material realm how things pan out in all parts of creation, and that all parts of creation are connected. Let me break this last part down so you can get this, and this is just for your homework, to show you that don't fall in love with the illusion, fall in love with the creator and the artistry. The illusion is only an illusion when you give causation to something that is an effect. If you give causation to something that's an effect, you become deluded. Go tell me how the sun, whether you believe in flat earth or whether you believe in spherical earth, it doesn't matter. Same principle. If you go up in the sky, the first thing you're going to realize is it gets cold. You can climb a mountain, you can go on an airplane, it doesn't matter. You can go on a parachute. It gets colder when you go up. By the time you get to what you're calling space, it's cold. Whether you're on flat earth or spherical earth. And I know that there's no such thing as flat earth, but it's okay. I'm canceling out any possibility for you to delude yourself. If space is cold, how is the heat from the sun transferred into cold back into heat? Scientists will say, oh, there's no atmosphere. You're not answering my question. You're not answering my question. Of course there's no atmosphere. How is it traveling, buddy? That goes to show you heat is just a signal. Radiation from the sun is just a signal. What did he say? Distance did not matter. Information is everywhere. The sun is sending the earth a text message. It shows you what is real and what is not. The sun is reproducing itself on the earth. There's not something traveling at 186,000 miles per second. With that being said, the world is not what you believe it to be. It is what it is by its designer. Creation is what it is by its designer. This is our design. We have to treat it like our design and not like we're the created effect of it. You say, well, we are the created effect of it. No, we're the creator that created this experience for ourselves. So now let's bring this down from the high level down to the basics. And the basics are this. You are DNA. You are genes, which are segments of DNA. You are epigenetics. And so all of this has importance because you are the memory of your mother and your father and your mother and father's father and your mother and father's father, father's father. And so when your RNA transcribes something from DNA, hey, that's why you look like your mother and your father. That's why you behave like them. You think you just inherited the looks and not the behaviors and the feelings and the emotions and the epigenetics and the birth control she used and the alcohol he drank, and you're not all of those things too? Guess what? Let's be smart about it. You can change and alter what your parents handed down to you through your current behavior. And so healing starts there. That's the most important thing that we can share with you. Healing starts there. That's where healing starts. Your shame, your guilt, your fear, all of those are self-decided states that you decide to come in, and you're going to get the effect of those states. You are your own judgment. There are no gods, demons, goblins, devils, ancestors, and all of this spooky shit that people believe. No one gave you cancer. No one, no. You can get it from your environment by being ignorant and not unprepared and violating natural law. This goes to show you, you also have a responsibility to humanity. You want to sit back and be an individual and enjoy the bliss of creation while people are out here sending out chemtrails. The state of Tennessee and South Carolina got their legislation to shut down chemtrails because people got involved in politics. You don't want to get involved in politics. You just want to take health courses. But a part of health is getting involved in politics to stop the damn chemtrails. You don't feel accountable, but you are, and you're getting the negative aspects of denying your accountability. So what does it really mean to be healthy? To be cute on Instagram and Facebook and share your little videos and be ha ha ha, I can do 50 push-ups? No, that's not health. That's us having fun. That's a part of health. A part of health is making sure Robert Kennedy gets in office so he can shut down vaccines. That's a part of health. That's a part of an intelligent political decision. But you voted for Kamala and you didn't want Robert F. Kennedy to get in office because you don't care about that because you're too ignorant to care about it. Think about how stupidity is causing the after effect of stupidity and people not feeling responsible. The reason why you don't feel responsible is because you don't have a lot of courage to see yourself in the proper light. You see yourself as insignificant, but you're significant. So by nature, since you're significant and you see yourself as insignificant, you're going to get the results and the effects of your doubt and lack of responsibility on your own significance. See how this goes? So now, if people are getting allergic reactions to chemtrails, it's our fault. It's your fault. What did you do? Who did you vote for? Ah, man, I don't get involved in that. Well, the sulfur ions are dropping in your yard. What is your problem solving? If we develop antiparasitic gardens, we can get the plants to secrete the isoprenoids to protect our environments. Stop feeling insignificant. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. When you start getting with your clients, you have to have already built up the mindset, the proper mindset to communicate with them, to raise them to the level that they can heal. You cannot do that by being ignorant. All the science you learn today is just, it's branches. The root is, how is this operating? Real bodybuilding, consciousness leads to how the subatomic world works, then the atomic, then the molecular, then the nucleotides, the genes, then the cells, organs, and the tissues. Yes, they have a design, but they need you to be thinking right. They need you to be studying. They need you to be studying the right information. The body is already pre-programmed to be healthy. What did your parents do to violate? Ask them. You never talked to your parents about what they ate while you were being gestated and they're right there? Mom, what did you eat? What were your cravings? No communication. It's insignificant. Yet it's what shaped you. This is a cultural dysfunction in communication. By the time we get to cellular differentiation in the next class, and all of the other things, that's great. But that's regurgitatable information that does not explain causation. You got to explain causation. I'm done. I'm over my time for my next class. I do want to get off so I can get into my next class. Do your homework. But this class was about changing your mind. The problem is your mind. And your mind is not in your brain. I'm holding my head because this is the it receives things. Let's say that. It has a cytoskeleton network in the cells to receive things. So correct your thoughts, build your confidence, study the material that's in this class and the prior classes because you have pre-recorded videos. Finish your homework. You're also to do a testing of foods. You want to test for homolactic fermentation. So you're going to take things that you eat on a daily basis. Now, I eat about 70% raw foods, fruits and vegetables, about 30% cooked foods, the vegetables that need to be cooked, and some healthy meats. And people try to figure us out. Well, if you eat raw foods, why not go 100% raw? Because we deal with food science, not your trend. Well, I'm on a carnivore diet. I eat way more protein. Sure you do. That's why you're not going to maintain health. Life is about experiment, learning natural law, defeating ignorance, having a good time while you do it, and maintaining the posture of natural law. So this, I haven't eaten today. When I eat, the first thing I'm eating when I eat is not going to be a bison steak. I'm going to have some cut up watermelon. Then I'll have me a large salad. Some days that's all I need. Then another day I might add some baked salmon. And I cook it at the right temperature. You're going to learn that in the think tanks. But if you follow what I'm saying, it is it's to be tested. I have no health problems. Somebody asked me, well, why you be wearing glasses? This eye right here, I lost all sight in this eye. I brought the eye back to 20/20 vision. I wear these glasses because I'm talking in front of a screen. These are blue light glasses so I can block out this radiation that I'm getting from this device because it makes my eyes sensitive. I use African tulip and eye bright to bring the eye back, amongst other things. I was completely blind in this eye from boxing. Causation. You gamble, you could lose. And so all I'm saying to my people is study gently and get yourself in a position to understand the things that you need to understand. All right? We out. Love y'all. Watch the prior videos. You do have to test the foods. I mentioned the foods. So you can test some milk. Let's see how it ferments. What's happening? All those bacteria, those pathogenic things in there that are breaking down that milk you're putting inside of your body, it doesn't belong there. What are you doing with the microbiome of a cow, inserting it into a human? Why would you do that? Why would you eat meat raw? Why would you do that? You said, well, you're going to have high glycation. We cover the glycation. Trust me, we are working and building properly. So thank you for your time today. This video is recorded. You will be able to use it to finish your homework and the prior videos. You will be able to do your labs. All you need is some mason jars for, a couple dollars from a dollar store. Put different foods in there, lettuce, fish, quinoa, whatever. Watch it for 72 hours. See how it ferments. And then you're going to understand homolactic fermentation, which is a part of your homework assignment. Foods do decay. They should not be fermenting. This is why you have oxygen in the ATP cycle. This is why you asked the question about ATP in your homework. This is why you asked the question about homolactic fermentation. You don't want your foods fermenting inside of your digestive tract. There is an aerobic fermentation, not a homolactic fermentation where you're producing lactic acid. It's two different things. And you want to keep the oxygen quality up in your foods. And so when you look at leaves, you don't see the leaves fermenting. You see them turning brown, oxidizing, dying off. An apple falls from the tree, it turns brown, it oxidizes. You don't see a bunch of fermentation there. Really simple. So do your testing, look at your prior videos, take your time with this course. And next week we'll be here at the same time. See y'all in cosmology class in a few minutes. Peace.